What's poppin', people? It's Dante. This morning I'm thinking about why you should get close in street photography. And yeah, just talk a little bit about my philosophy about closeness, how I integrate it within my practice, and why it matters to me. So I encourage new street photographers. Maybe you're just getting started, you're feeling a bit anxious, you're feeling a bit overwhelmed about practicing street photography, right? You need to raise your camera to your eye and press the shutter and get close to people. Aren't they going to get mad at me? And I'm anxious, you know? And I think this is where we want to be. We want to be in this anxious, fearful state. Because once we overcome that anxiety, once we overcome that fear of pressing the shutter and getting close to life, then we can have joy in our lives. And the reason I believe this is Friedrich Nietzsche famously says, to have a more joyful existence, to embrace danger, right? The quote is somewhere along, the lines of, live dangerously. And to me, living dangerously provides joy in my life, and getting close to life, well, isn't that a bit dangerous? And so, yeah, maximizing danger is the perfect way to maximize joy. Here's some photos from some dangerous situations, right? Yeah, I think closeness is something that I've always appreciated in a photograph. And, there's something about closeness that's not just a physical closeness, but there's an emotional closeness that you feel in the photograph. Where I was here, I was present at this moment when I pressed the shutter of the two men coming out of the masjid, kissing as they greet each other, smoking a cigarette, drinking a coffee. And this emotional closeness comes with time spent. The emotional closeness in this photograph was me spending time in a community, spending time with this scene, with the people there, drinking a coffee with the subjects, drinking and having a conversation at this scene, and engaging the people in this community, going to the masjid and coming out of the masjid and then making the photograph. And this may be a bit different from the traditional street photography where you simply walk around your city and photograph candidly. But when you integrate the documentary approach to the streets, this is where the magic can really happen, where I can become a fly on the wall and closer and closer and closer to the moments when I remain emotionally open. And so I find that emotional closeness is just as important as the physical proximity between you and the subject that you're photographing. And so there's something about the closeness in proximity, however, that really does elevate the frame to a new height. When you have a subject close to the frame, when you're close to the subject that you're photographing, you can really feel the essence of the moment. This couple in Mexico City kissing in the rain. This man mourning at a funeral in Zambia, right? When you get close to the subject, when you get close to life and you photograph an emotional moment, when you photograph at this proximity, you can really feel the authenticity of the streets. This raw, visceral energy of the streets comes to life through the proximity of you, your camera, and the moments that are in front of you. And so, I believe that not only is physical proximity important, but the emotional connection, the emotional closeness you have to life. And I think that will reflect in the photographs that you make. And so through that fear and through that danger, we can find joy, right? I think it's so joyful to get close to people. What happens when you're practicing street photography early on is you're afraid of rejection. You're afraid to get close because of how people will perceive you. However, the more times you get no, the more times you get confronted and people tell you to not make their photograph, the better off you are, because then you start to overcome that hurdle and you get used to rejection. You get used to the awkwardness of practicing street photography at a close proximity. And I think that is a good thing, because the more you embrace this weird thing of, you know, taking photos of strangers and getting close to strangers and making candid photos, whatever, it's only then that you can overcome this societal norm of not taking pictures of strangers, right? It's a very, you're very much transcending societal norms practicing street photography, I believe, you know? And yeah, this to me, though, is why street photography is so powerful, because it can allow you to get closer to life. You know, when you're on the streets and you see a moment, you might as well press the shutter. You might as well get as close as possible to try to make the photograph, because the closer you become to life, well, it's going to reflect back in the photograph when you see the results and you see the impact of you having courage to actually make the picture. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to getting close, it's going to require you to be courageous. It's going to require you to be fearless. And through that, overcoming that hurdle of the anxiety and going forward with courage and making pictures at a close proximity, you can come home with these everlasting memories that you will cherish for the rest of your life. And I think that is the beauty of getting close. You know, when you get close to life, when you get close to humanity, you know, not only are we making a picture with impact visually, but we're engaging with life in a meaningful way that can resonate on the emotional front. And that to me is the beauty of getting close in street photography. I encourage you to get closer in street photography because it will allow you to overcome any fear and anxiety that you have. Don't be afraid of interaction on the streets. I think street photographers often get caught up with the notion that, oh, I can't be noticed or this and that, but it's good to be open. It's good to be open to confrontation, whether good or bad. And I think that through that overcoming of anxiety and overcoming of fear, through courage and through living on the dangerous edge of life, you will find more joy in life. There's more zest in life through that danger. And I encourage you to, just go out there and get closer and closer, and you'll watch as your photographs become better and better. That's what I think, at least. Yeah, the closer the better, typically.